So, let's talk about Europe, specifically a corner of Europe that is famously, low and flat. We're talking about the Low Countries. Today, we know them as three distinct nations. The Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. They're squished between France and Germany. They're famous for windmills, chocolate, very secure banks, but they weren't always separate. Once, a jumbled, interconnected territory, ruled by a revolving door of dukes, kings, emperors, a messy, centuries-long family drama. Fast forward to 1815. Napoleon has finally been defeated. Hooray, the great powers of Europe, Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, gather at the Congress of Vienna to redraw the map of the continent. Their main goal? To prevent another Napoleon from ever happening again. They wanted to create strong buffer states around France to keep it contained. They looked at the Low Countries. They had a brilliant idea, or what they thought was a brilliant idea. They decided to stitch the old Dutch Republic and the southern provinces back together into one big country, the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. On paper, this seemed like a great plan. You combine the trading power of the north with the industrial resources of the south. You create a formidable mid-sized power right on France's doorstep. What could possibly go wrong? They put a Dutch king, William I, from the House of Orange-Nassau, in charge. He was an ambitious guy. He wanted to forge a new national identity, build up the economy. He invested in infrastructure, universities, industry, but putting a family back together after 150 years of separation is never easy. The new kingdom was a union of two very different partners who had grown apart. The north was predominantly Protestant. The south was overwhelmingly Catholic, spoke French or Flemish dialects, and was shifting toward heavy industry. The breaking point came in the summer of 1830. The vibe in Europe was tense. There had just been a revolution in Paris. On the evening of August 25th, an opera was being performed in Brussels called La Muette de Portici. It's a story about a rebellion against an oppressive king. You can probably see where this is going. During a particularly rousing aria about the love of one's sacred homeland, Amour sacré de la patrie, the audience got inspired. They spilled out of the opera house, shouting patriotic slogans calling for independence. What started as a spontaneous opera-fueled riot quickly escalated into a full-blown revolution. The Brussels middle class organized a militia and took control of the city. The unrest spread like wildfire across the southern provinces. People were tired of Dutch dominance, unfair taxes, and cultural suppression. The Catholic Church and the southern population felt under attack. King William I sent his troops to quell the rebellion, but after several days of bloody fighting, the Dutch army was forced to retreat. The South had declared its independence. The great powers faced a dilemma: crush the rebellion or recognize it. France wanted to help the Belgians. Britain feared French influence. After negotiations in London, they agreed to recognize a neutral kingdom of Belgium. They even helped Belgium find a king. Leopold of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha became Leopold I. King William I was furious and launched a brief campaign, but was forced to back down. In 1839, with the Treaty of London, the Netherlands officially recognized Belgium's independence. The awkward arranged marriage had ended in a very messy, very public divorce. So Belgium is now its own country. But wait, what about Luxembourg? This is where things get even more complicated. The Grand Duchy of Luxembourg was not technically part of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. It was King William I's own private property, held in what's called a personal union. He was the Grand Duke of Luxembourg and the King of the Netherlands, but the two territories were legally distinct. Luxembourg was also a member of the German Confederation, and its fortress was garrisoned by Prussian troops. A tiny territory with a massive identity crisis. Most of Luxembourg, largely French-speaking and Catholic, sided with the Belgians. For a while it looked like it might join Belgium. But the 1839 Treaty of London performed geopolitical surgery on the Grand Duchy. The larger western French-speaking part was given to Belgium, today's province of Luxembourg. The smaller eastern German dialect-speaking part, including Luxembourg City's fortress, remained a Grand Duchy. It stayed the Dutch king's private possession for decades. From 1839 to 1890, Luxembourg was an odd hybrid, independent in theory, but with the King of the Netherlands as head of state. That created tension. France and the newly unified Germany had their eyes on the strategically important fortress. The 1867 Luxembourg crisis almost sparked a war. In 1890, King William III died without a male heir. Dutch law allowed his daughter Wilhelmina to succeed, but Nassau law barred female succession in Luxembourg. The personal union dissolved. The Dutch throne went to Wilhelmina, and Luxembourg's throne went to Adolf, finally fully independent. At last, Luxembourg became fully independent with its own monarch. So why couldn't this big, happy Low Countries family just get along? The core of the problem was that they were never really one family to begin with. The divisions were deep and had been growing for centuries. The most obvious split was religion. The 80 Years' War created a hard border between a staunchly Protestant North and a devoutly Catholic South. Religion shaped law, culture, and education. Then there's language. This one is a bit more complex. In the North, everyone spoke Dutch. In the South, it was a split between elites and local dialects. The influential upper class mostly spoke French, even in Flemish regions. Common people spoke Flemish dialects or Walloon, and felt ignored when Dutch was imposed as sole official language. That angered both the French-speaking elite and the Flemish people. Beyond religion and language, there were major economic and political differences. The Dutch had a proud history as traders, sailors, bankers, born from a republican tradition of decentralization. The Belgians had been ruled by outsiders, built up heavy industry, coal, iron, textiles, and an identity forged in opposition to foreign rule. Ultimately, people wanted independence because they felt their identity was being erased. French-speaking liberals wanted political freedom. Catholics wanted religious freedom. They felt unrepresented and sidelined in their own country. Culture, faith, and economic interests all pushed people toward independence. They didn't want to be junior partners. They wanted to write their own destiny. It was a classic story of a people deciding they wanted to write their own destiny. And so, here we are in 2025, three distinct, unique, and wonderful countries. The Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg are now close partners in the Benelux Union and the European Union. They've each carved out their own special place in the world. The Netherlands remains a nation shaped by water and trade. It's known for its incredible art history, think Rembrandt and Van Gogh, and pragmatic entrepreneurial people. And the port of Rotterdam serves as the gateway to Europe. Belgium, born from an opera riot, is complex, a multilingual hub, stunning medieval cities, and world-class chocolate and waffles. Tiny Luxembourg makes up for its size with influence. A major financial center, 3 official languages, fairy tale castles, and lush forests. They've gone from a forced marriage to being good neighbors who mostly get along. What started as one big, messy region has blossomed into 3 different places, each with its own character and charm.